All right, guys, we are live. I got my new camera playing around, but it is not set up, and I don't like the vertical mode. But we're going. I ain't been on here forever, man. I've been kind of going through some stuff. I've been sick and all kinds of crazy mess, really. And I think I got a bad pinched nerve in my neck, and it's blowing me out of the water. And I just been down and out, man, on that stuff. And I ain't been on here live or done nothing, man. I'd like to chop it up with y'all, man. And I want to appreciate everybody for liking my shorts and the subscribers, man. We finally got the 550 just come through, man. 550 subscribers. I cannot believe that. That is amazing, guys. I appreciate it so much. I mean, that's halfway from 600. I've been waiting on that. That's an amazing deal, man. But man, it worked out great. But yeah, I want to keep pushing. Let me see if I can turn the camera. You could tell you. Got more lined up with me. Dang it. I gotta get that. Got it. Mama says she got it. So it come through, huh? Daggone. Well, that's a great thing. All right. What's the background look like in my room? I got the lights on. They don't look too defocused right now. I'm gonna turn this clock on. Be honest. Ooh, it ain't focusing on that well. We ought to be able to focus on that clock. I'm gonna figure that out. Yeah, it's too much. Why does it look good to me? What they look like to you, Mom? The picture of me in the bottom corners that look clear and good. Like how do I look? I'll be brighter. Oh, the neck, Jesus. I'm telling these people I've been sick as hell I couldn't do nothing. Let me get into this here, Mom. That's an interesting little deal I found. Let's check something out. Learn something.
The movies are bad. They've been bad for a long time. It's hard to find an
Longest
action movie that
story
doesn't
ever
love
told, it
a little bit
said.
of extrajudicial killing. It's even harder to find one that doesn't have some kind of relationship with the military industrial complex in one way or another. Hollywood wants nothing more than to have some old guy from the Pentagon sit around on set telling them whether their fight scenes are realistic and how much he wants to glass Iran. It's not a secret. Movies like Top Gun will gladly tell you about what a pleasure it was to work with the military. And this is not an accident. It's not just a convenient asset for the movie makers. This is a symbiotic relationship. The US Armed Forces care deeply about what the public thinks about them. Propaganda is a huge part of what they do. Noam Chomsky wrote in Manufacturing Consent that the US Air Force's public outreach program included 17 TV stations, 34 radio stations, 140 newspapers, 45,000 headquarters and unit news releases, 615,000 hometown news releases, 6,600 interviews, and fuck it. The quote is longer than my intro. It's on page 80. You can find the book for free on Google. Just pull it up. The point is, they do a lot, and it's not a new thing. Movies can be very easily used for political ends.
McBain to base, under attack by commie Nazis.
It's not an earth shattering observation, so part of me thinks I shouldn't even be here explaining this to you. But over the course of the pandemic, I had the displeasure of watching Peter Berg's 2013 biography
Sorry to interrupt, but I see we got somebody else in here. Hey, how you doing? You can come in and chat and say what you want to, or just hang out and chill. I appreciate you either way, man. Thanks for being here.
Graphical war thriller Lone Survivor, which starred one of my favorite racist people in Hollywood, Marky Mark himself. My parents watched this shit and just memory hold it immediately. I
Crazy.
promise you they don't remember they've ever seen this movie. But for me, it changed my brain chemistry. I became one standard deviation more annoying after I watched it. My eyes popped out of my head and steam came out of my ears when I found out that the movie was positively received by audiences
What's up,
and
babe?
critics alike, and it
What's
was the
up, buddy?
highest grossing post 9/11 war movie at the time.
You trying to make me look bad this morning doing that bullshit work, man. You can't be doing me like that, man. You make me look bad. God dang it. You're out there drilling away. I popped in, but I had something coming on. I had tree green coming and all, so I had to dip out. But yeah, man, appreciate you being here, bro. I ain't been live in forever, dude. I've been sick, man. I got like a pinched nerve and all kinds of bullshit. I've been puking sick. I'm trying to get something going here. I found this. This is pretty interesting here to me, anyway.
I knew deep in my loins that this was
About
the
that
most evil
Marcus
movie I'd
shit.
ever seen.
Lone Survivor,
I then
dude.
devoted hours of my life to reading the book it was based on, only to conclude that it was far more evil than I could have imagined.
It's
I then
all
read like 10 books
BS.
about Afghanistan just to better understand this country and unlock new ways to hate this film, this book, and everyone involved here. Friends, I am here to tell you that this is a movie about how war crimes are good and they are none of your business. I'm here to tell you that Lone Survivor is the wrongest movie ever made. I had originally written a lot about how the war in Afghanistan came about, how the Soviet invasion shaped the subsequent US occupation, and how this all paves the way for the events of Lone Survivor to take place. But frankly, this is a video about a Mark Wahlberg movie, so I'll save it for the next one, and instead jump straight to telling you the story as the book intended. In 2005, Marcus Luttrell was sent into the Hindu Kush mountains of Afghanistan for Operation Red Wing. His mission, along with his friends and fellow Navy SEALs, Matthew Axelson, Mike Murphy, and Danny Dietz, was to surveil a local Taliban leader named Ahmad Shah. The plan was to hide in the mountains above the town where they believed Shah to be, and if necessary, stay there for 4 days until they could get a clear visual of him. It's a long time to devote to a mission built around one guy. But this isn't just any guy. Shah is said to command an army of around 150 Taliban fighters and was known to be tight with Osama bin Laden. Closer to the mission launching, they received further word that Shah was expected to have somewhere between 80 and 200 men defending him. In his book, Luttrell says that Shah just keeps coming up and the size of his forces continue to get larger. In the adaptation, Matthew Axelson claims that Shah killed 20 Marines in the week before the operation. This all starts to weigh on Marcus, so he and his fellow SEALs grab an extra 3 magazines, giving them a total of 11 each. The team was then dropped off via helicopter to begin their mission. To avoid arousing suspicion from the local Taliban, they made 3 false inserts. Once Marcus and the team rappelled down, someone in the helicopter cut the rope behind them. Luttrell points this out as a pretty big mistake to make, but luckily Murphy found it and they covered it up with some foliage and moved it along. After over 7 hours of hiking, they finally had a visual on the town they were sent to survey for Shah. The spot they settled for was great for observing the village, but pretty shitty as far as cover goes. As he got himself set up, Luttrell said that he could not move one muscle because if someone had long-range binoculars trained on them, they would be spotted. Luttrell notes that they couldn't be seen from below, and there was definitely no human being at eye level or above them, until a goat herder with an axe jumped off a log immediately above Luttrell. It was a chance encounter and a completely unintentional one. The farmer dropped the axe as soon as Marcus pulled his rifle on him. He was then joined by his herd of about 100 goats with bells on their necks, along with 2 other shepherds, one of whom the author estimates to be 14 years old. The older man confirmed upon questioning that they were not Taliban, but their vibes appeared to suggest they were not fans of the Americans either.
No.
And this is where things get really fucking weird. The team must come to a consensus on what to do with the farmers. The author correctly identifies the 3 of them as unarmed civilians according to the Geneva Convention. But he then claims that
the strict, correct military decision would still be to kill them without further discussion, because we could not know their intentions. How could we know if they were affiliated with a Taliban militia group?
My goddamn lazy.
he says that although these men showed
Don't
no
go out
aggression,
on.
they also didn't offer or want the hand of friendship,
My
which,
favorite
to be
one.
clear, is not something covered in the Geneva
We're
Convention.
drinking through the blue.
I know I said I would tell the story as Luttrell did in his book, but I should note here that the movie actually gives the shepherds walkie-talkies, which they believe confirms them to be Taliban for whatever reason. It's a small detail, but I'll make sense of why it matters a little bit later. In the book's telling, the SEAL in charge of the operation, Mike Murphy, put it up to a vote.
Broke.
Axe said they should kill the men because letting them go would be a
Shit.
death sentence. Danny was indifferent and said he would go with whatever the others wanted. Luttrell said he thought that they had to kill them, but was interested in Murphy's thoughts. Murphy said that if they kill them, someone would find the bodies not long after, partially because of the massive goat herd, partially because they wouldn't return home to their families. He then says that when the Taliban inevitably find their bodies, they would make this a massive issue in the Afghan media, and the US will also pile onto the SEALs, who will ultimately be charged with murder. Murphy made it clear that if they killed the farmers, they would have to report it and face the charges that come their way. He gives Luttrell the final vote, saying that he will follow whatever decision he makes. Luttrell ultimately decided to spare their lives, a decision he would go on to regret. With that, the team released the farmers, who were then out of their line of sight within 19 minutes. It then took the SEALs between 40 minutes to an hour to cover the same ground. At this point, they opted to lay low for a while and hoped the Taliban had not been alerted. But if the Taliban was on their way, the SEALs hoped they were too well hidden to be found. After about an hour and 40 minutes, Mikey alerted Marcus that between 80 and 100 Taliban were coming down the mountain. Danny was instructed to call for backup if he could make their radio work, which it hadn't for much of the mission.
15.
When he's spotted by a member of the Taliban, Marcus draws first blood, killing him and allowing his team to start cutting down the enemy with precision. He remembers thinking that the estimate of 200 hostiles was a lot more accurate than the 80 minimum they had been advised. The firefight went on for what seemed like forever. It's unclear how many members of the Taliban they killed in the fight, but Luttrell says that after 40 minutes, there were still around 80 men coming after them. When Danny Dietz was shot through the neck and killed, the author estimates there were just 50 to 60 Taliban remaining. After being hit multiple times, Mike Murphy walked into the open to call headquarters on his cell phone and request reinforcements. After making the call, Marcus was unable to reach him and he was killed by the Taliban. At this point, Marcus estimates there are 50 Taliban remaining. After reaching Axe's location, the two men were blown apart from one another by grenades, knocking Marcus unconscious. Although Marcus did not see it happen, Axe would be killed shortly thereafter. When he came to, Marcus was able to break line of sight and hide. From his hiding place, he observed what he believed to be hundreds of Taliban looking for him. What he didn't know at this time was that Murphy's call to headquarters had actually gone through successfully. They responded by packing a helo to support the team, which was immediately shot down by the Taliban, killing everyone aboard, which Marcus calls the worst special ops catastrophe ever. At this point, Marcus is severely injured and dehydrated, wandering around the mountain looking for water. He believes he's being followed multiple times, but is able to keep them off his tail because he keeps accidentally falling off of cliffs. After briefly considering killing some civilians to steal their water, Marcus is ultimately found by a group of locals who, after a tense introduction,
But it's funny, when they found him, he didn't have a scratch on him.
express to Marcus that they are not Taliban. The men
Not
take him back to their
fucking
town
true.
and protect him from his enemies for several days. While staying with the village, Marcus befriends Mohammed Gulab, who he identifies as the son of a village elder. Gulab and the village band together to protect Marcus under a Pashtun hospital.
And Gulab knows all the truth. That's why they didn't bring that man to the States. He should be living here. But he knows the beans, buddy. He knows what happened. He was there. Seen it all.
Hospitality law, which he describes as an unbreakable commitment to defend a wounded man to the death. This law goes beyond just one man and actually calls every member of the village to take part in the defense of the guest. After the village elder delivers a handwritten message from Luttrell to a local US military base, he is ultimately saved a few days later before the Taliban can get their hands on him. As portrayed on the big screen, it all plays like a Greek tragedy. Luttrell's Christian soul compelled him to not kill innocent civilians, and it led to the untimely deaths of 20 good men. The fact that Luttrell refused to fight the Taliban on their own brutal terms was ultimately his team's downfall. It's tragic, it's apolitical, war is hell, case closed. That is, if you actually believe this version of events, which you shouldn't. The story that Marcus tells us appears to be factually wrong in at least 4 major ways.
Number 1!
To hear the author tell it, Ahmad Shah was a high-ranking Taliban officer responsible for killing 20 US Marines. He commanded a force of somewhere between 80 and 200 troops and was known to be a close associate of Osama bin Laden. The reality is far less exciting. Ahmad Shah was a small potatoes Taliban upstart with a fighting force of just 10 to 15 men. And Shah could not have killed 20 Marines in the week before the operation because the US only lost 2 soldiers in the entire country in that time. And although Shah had ties to al-Qaeda, his association with bin Laden was an outright fabrication. Shah was specifically targeted because the US feared that he could ultimately grow to be significant someday, not because he was already a major player. Having a guy like Shah disappear wouldn't do the Taliban any favors, but it wasn't exactly a game changer. Prior to killing these 3 Navy SEALs, Ahmad Shah was essentially an unknown local Taliban aspirant.
Number
2. As Luttrell tells it, the most pivotal scene in our story occurs when the SEALs capture the goat herders and need to make a decision on what is to be done with them. Murphy, the man in charge, decides the team will hold a vote. As Luttrell tells it in his book, Axelson was immediately adamant that they should kill them, Dietz remained neutral, and Luttrell initially felt the
I'll be right back, gang. I got one thing we got to do.
same as Axe, but was open to hearing Murphy's perspective. Murphy then conveyed that killing the men would be criminal and they would need to face the potential repercussions of their decision head-on before ultimately deferring to Marcus for the final decision. Luttrell claims that his Christian soul compelled him to let the men go, a decision he believes cost his friends their lives and would haunt him for years to come. Now, before I try to debunk this, it is worth mentioning that Luttrell and his team almost certainly had some kind of discussion about what their next move should be. Mohammed Gulab, the man who saved Luttrell, told Newsweek that other villagers had told him that such conversations occurred. However, we should be extremely skeptical about the author's claim that the lives of these goat herders will put up to a vote, as this isn't exactly common practice among the Navy SEALs. Luttrell's own Wikipedia has a quote from Navy Special Warfare Command spokesperson Steve Rue saying,
"This is the first time I've ever heard of anything put to a vote like that. In my 14 years of Navy experience, I've never seen or heard of anything like that."
Now, I don't love citing Wikipedia, but I'm working with a lot of dead links here, so get off me. But if that doesn't persuade you, Murphy's father said this version of events,
"It directly contradicts what he told Maureen, myself, and Michael's brother John in my kitchen. He said that Michael was adamant that civilians were going to be released, that he wasn't going to kill innocent people. Michael wouldn't put that up for a committee."
The easy response to this story is that Luttrell didn't have the heart to tell Murphy's family that their son was open to the idea of committing a war crime. But it doesn't seem like he expressed it anywhere before his book was written. Author Ed Derrick, who wrote his own book about the mission, stated in a blog post,
"Murphy placing something like this up to a vote almost certainly did not happen. I'm so certain that it did not happen that I'm going to just say that it did not happen. After reading this in Lone Survivor, I re-interviewed the Marines who had intimate knowledge of Luttrell's after-action report. All those I re-interviewed stated that nothing in the report said anything about a vote."
After rewatching the movie, I was surprised to see they actually retcon this entirely and have Murphy authoritatively decide that the SEALs will not be killing any civilians, which is a dramatic difference from the book in which Luttrell is given the deciding vote, which Murphy follows. This change could be attributed to Peter Berg wanting to make a movie that wouldn't disrespect the dead SEALs, but it seems at least equally likely that this version of events is just more accurate than what we got in the book.
Number
3. In the version of the story that Luttrell provides, the team is unequivocally
Hey, mama, I just got my 550 sub. That's awesome, man. That's what 551. I just caught two. 550 to 551. I heard a comment on it. Man, got my 551, man. God dang. That's halfway to 600. Get 600, man. I should be able to roll. Man, that last one I posted, man, got 4K and 52 likes. Oh, wait. 4,000 views on that bitch. Bumping. Damn, I like it. Boy, that, you talking about blessed, boy. I am blessed. 2 subs in about 2 hours. 4,061 views in the last 60 minutes. Shit. And they're still going up when I refresh them. Man, that's going to do the number. Oh, wait. Oh, that's that action. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
attacked because the team opted to free the goat herders who alerted the Taliban to their location. Luttrell states that had they not followed the rules of engagement, that his friends would still be alive today.
It's a
We actually have a
grind, baby.
surprising
It's
amount
a
of alternative
grind.
explanations for how they might have been found.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to understand that the mission was originally planned by the Marines, who had intended to enter the mountains on foot.
What up,
When the Navy
Jamie?
SEALs took over, they insisted.
Damn, baby, what's happening? You doing all right, brother? Ain't been on here forever. I was just thanking everybody. I just got my 551 subs, man. Halfway to 600. Good seeing you, bro.
On going in via helicopter. The Marines believed that this was a bad idea because, I don't know if you know this, the mountains of Afghanistan are not a lively place. There is no nightlife in the Hindu Kush. There is a distinct lack of helicopters in the neighborhood. An entrance this conspicuous was bound to draw unwanted attention to the SEALs. So they offered a compromise.
Hell, the damn Marines told them not to. They told them to hike in the whole way. It's been a rough 2 months. I had to take a break. Oh, yeah, what's going on, man? Life problems or YouTube problems or just in general? I would assume in general. I've been talking to my mama about it, man, how effed up everything is and how we all struggling, man. It's terrible out there. Life, bro, yeah. We all going through it. Well, nobody got no money, man. We just broke. And we in debt, and it's like there's no possible way to get out of it. Let you stumble away to make some damn money on here. Going to a job ain't gonna do nothing for you. It sucks, man. It's terrible. And this crap with Israel and all, boy, it's getting serious, bro. That is some serious mess going on. Excuse me. That's some serious mess going on, and I don't think people really realize how serious. And it's spiritual. That's what they don't understand. And them people up there, they ain't gonna back down. Spend 20 to make 10. That's it, man. I mean, it's just unbelievable. My mom said you go to Walmart, spend $170 in receipts that long. You got about 3 bags. Shit.
They would fly helicopters over the region for a few days so that the actual insert wouldn't seem so out of the ordinary. On the day itself, they would stage multiple false inserts as well to throw the locals off their scent. Despite these false inserts, Luttrell actually considers it a possibility they could have been seen at this point, as he notes seeing 2 sources of light that could have been lanterns or fires in the area. Muhammad Gulab, the villager that saved Luttrell, felt very strongly that this is why the team was compromised, saying that the Taliban and other locals had heard the SEALs come in and started searching for them in the morning. You might be thinking, yeah, but it would have been hours before morning, so how could they have possibly tracked them down? And hey, that's a great question. It would, in fact, be very difficult to track them down, unless they had left some evidence behind showing exactly where they had been dropped off, like a giant rope, for example. Now, Luttrell mentions in his book that the team was baffled as to why the rope had been severed when they got off the helicopter, but the idea here is that in a covert operation, you want to pull the rope back up so that there's no evidence of SEALs being dropped off, whereas in an active combat zone, you'd rather sever the rope so that the helicopter doesn't linger in the air for too long and get shot down. In this case, the mission planners had never actually discussed what should happen to the rope. Did they want to have the helicopter linger and risk being seen by the locals, or cut it and leave behind a huge piece of evidence? The crew chief, having not received direction otherwise, instinctively severed the rope because he was used to working direct action operations. Luttrell says that he and the team were ultimately able to hide the rope, but he neglects to mention how fucking huge this thing was. When tightly coiled, it would be around the size of 3 suitcases stacked on top of each other, making it difficult to hide and impossible to carry around with them. This was a big enough deal that Lieutenant Rob Long felt that the SEALs should have called off the mission then and there to avoid being compromised, but instead they continued on. As Luttrell tells the story himself, the SEALs bumbled their way through the mountains and repeatedly offered up opportunities to be seen by the enemy along the way. It's said that an enemy could have been easily lurking and watching them, and that after walking for about 4.5 miles, they nearly walked into someone's front yard. Because it was late, it's pretty unlikely the team could have been seen without night vision goggles, but not long afterwards, the team steps right out into the open and became unmissable. It's entirely possible that someone could have reported them to Shaw and his men at some point during the trek, even if the rope had not been found. But whether it was a giant rope or these guys dicking around the mountains for hours, it seems as though the SEALs had been found out before they came across the goat herders. Lieutenant Long reported receiving word from the SEALs late in the morning of the 28th that the team had been soft compromised by the goat herders. Ed Derrick writes that
Then, after what seemed along like just a few minutes from the soft compromise call, the next of the recon team's transmissions echoed through the room. Contact! We're hard compromised.
Now, it's worth noting here that Derrick says that the gap between being found by the goat herders and found by the Taliban felt like a few minutes. Not necessarily that it was a few minutes, but this still feels drastically different from Marcus's account, which suggests that the team moved for about 40 minutes and then hid for an hour and 40 minutes before being found. Long's account appears to be supported by the locals.
I mean, he went through hell even after Marcus got done with it. He's still going through it. He lost family members. They were blowing his village up, blew his car up. I mean, all kinds of shit. Talking about the Pasta Walla, but that's where they bring him in, right? Yeah, he was really about it. He should be here in America, man. I mean, no shit. I mean, they fought. They did. And continue to fight because of that dude. I'm just answering this crazy comment. This is weird as shit.
Remember how I mentioned that Muhammad Gulab had heard from other villagers that the Americans had discussed the fate of the goat herders? Those villagers heard that from the Taliban, who had already found the Americans at this point. They simply waited for the Americans to let their prisoners go before attacking. If this is true, and it seems likely, it refutes the entire thesis of the book. The goat herders could not have possibly ratted the SEALs out to the Taliban because they already found them. Marcus and his team killing these civilians would have done absolutely nothing to save anyone. They were dead the minute they let go of the rope, they just didn't know it yet.
Number
4. Once Marcus and his team were found by the Taliban, Luttrell would have you believe that they started picking bad guys off one by one. This is where you insert the sound of Patrick going. In the book, he says that the force was probably closer to the 200 than the 80 minimum that they had been advised. In subsequent speeches given after Lone Survivor came out, Luttrell would stick to the 200 number, which is weird because he told the Today Show it was like 80 to 100.
You were attacked after you let them go.
Yes, sir.
By between 80 and 100 members of the Taliban.
Yes, sir.
And it was nasty.
Yes, sir.
And his after-action report immediately followed
Gulab's in the U.S. for real? Y'all know that? If he is, that is fantastic. Because he deserves it. Every bit of it. And to be left alone.
Following the attack said it was just 20
I'll
to
have to
30.
look that up. I didn't
And
know
look,
that,
I
bro.
get it. When the bullets are flying, things can get confusing. And
Hmm.
it's understandable that one could
Well,
overestimate
then
exactly how many
Marcus
guys are shooting at you. But it does seem at least a little bit suspicious that Luttrell
That's
repeatedly
crazy.
contradicted himself by such a wide margin, right? Like he jumped from 20 to 200. This alone is enough to make me skeptical of his figures here. But to make matters worse, Luttrell is once again contradicted by Mohammed Gulab, who heard the battle take place. According to Newsweek, Gulab said the battle was short-lived and scoffs at the idea that 35 Taliban were killed in the battle. Perhaps more surprisingly, Luttrell's numbers are also contradicted by Marines involved in the mission. Patrick Kinzer, a Marine infantry officer who helped plan the operation, called Luttrell's claims exaggerated nonsense, saying that there weren't 35.
That's really amazing, man. Where'd y'all hear that at? Do y'all remember where y'all heard that at? That he actually got here? Like on YouTube or something, or a documentary, or I'm gonna have to check that out. I thought he was still getting drugged. Cause hell, they'll never leave him alone if he stays over. And he knows that.
5 enemy fighters in all of Korangal Valley that day. According to author Ed Derrick, intelligence reports pegged the number of enemy combatants around 8 to 10. Videos shot by the Taliban during the attack, which were later analyzed and authenticated by US military intelligence, appeared to show just 8 men ambushing the SEALs, including Ahmad Shah.
Yeah, you fact checked it. It's 22 in the documentary, huh? So in 2022, we got over here. Well, hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's great. You ain't got to deal with that bull crap no more. Yeah, man, that's amazing.
The generous way to interpret such a video would be to suggest that less enemy fighters could be seen because the SEALs had killed so many of them. However, Newsweek reports that
Andrew McManus, a former Marine colonel who helped draw up the mission and was on scene during the search and recovery effort for the dead SEALs, says there were no reports of any enemy casualties.
This is backed up by Gulab, who says that the villagers and the American military who searched the mountains after the attack found no evidence of any Taliban casualties. Gulab even claimed that when he found Luttrell, he still had 11 magazines of ammunition on him, which is exactly how many he claims he packed in Lone Survivor. This would appear to suggest that Marcus is not just exaggerating the scale of the fight that occurred, but that he did not participate in a fight at all. So to summarize the bullshit so far, he was wrong about the importance of the mission, he was wrong about how the story's pivotal conversation shook out, he was wrong about why he was attacked, he was wrong about how many people attacked him, and he was wrong about how the fight played out. Hell, now is as good a time as any to mention that he even got the name of the mission wrong. It's Operation Red Wings, dipshit. Not Red Wing. 2 words, plural, like the hockey team. How do you put this on the cover of your book? Multiple editions. How do you, didn't anyone think, why wouldn't you, fuck it, it doesn't matter. Because as mind-numbingly stupid as that is, I need to address why this book was written so you can understand just how wrong this thing can get. It's easy to look at this story and all of its glaring holes and just conclude that this is about one sad man looking at the most traumatic time of his life and trying to save some face or something. And it's entirely possible that that's exactly what happened here. But I actually think that this book and its purposes are a bit more sinister than that. This isn't just about protecting Marcus's reputation as a SEAL, it's about war crimes and how you should feel about them. It doesn't take long for Luttrell to start whining about how much more brutal US forces need to be in Afghanistan. Less than 40.
I hate to say it, but that word war crimes, that just don't mix with me. How's a crime in war? War about killing. You asking me, Jamie, was he wrong about being shot up? Talking about Marcus? Yeah, yeah. He don't look scratched at all when he's coming out of that village. No, he was not shot to pieces or none of that shit. He never fired a shot.
40 pages into his book, he begins to
He
complain
was
about
running.
the, quote, ever intrusive rules of engagement.
They are very specific. We may not open fire until we are fired upon or have positively identified our enemy and have proof of his intentions.
He thinks this is all very gallant, but he immediately counters these rules by saying, but what if we'd been fired upon in the previous days of patrol and are very nearly exhausted and maybe slightly scared? And I'm not going to beat around the bush on this one. This is fucking awesome. Like, he can't even commit to making the case that he's a small bean or whatever. He can't just say, what if I'm scared? He has to qualify it. What if I'm a little scared? Maybe. I mean, like, if you're going to go down this route, you have to go all in. What if they're scared? What if they're petrified? You don't get to kill anyone because you're maybe slightly scared. Get real. Fuck off, dude. This is when Luttrell lays the deaths of the 3 seals at the feet of the 3 goat herders that he claims to have spared, saying that
I can say from first-hand experience that those rules of engagement cost the lives of 3 of the finest U.S. Navy SEALs who have ever served. They would not have died right then, and in my view, would almost certainly have been alive today.
it's a pretty bold claim, and as discussed, almost certainly a lie, but it's also a small piece of this book's campaign against the concept of war crimes and the liberal media at large. The author claims that
the entire business of modern war crimes, as identified by the liberal wings of politics and the media, began in Iraq and have been running downhill ever since.
it's possible that if the author had skimmed a book about Vietnam, he might get the vibe that the US was receiving criticism for committing war crimes long before the US invaded Iraq on incredibly flimsy grounds, which, by the way, Luttrell unequivocally defends in this book. He actually takes on the impossible task of trying to convince the reader that Iraq had direct ties to Al Qaeda, something so ridiculous that even Wikipedia calls it a conspiracy theory. But this whining about liberals is a recurring theme throughout the book. Every time Luttrell starts talking about killing innocent people, he starts complaining about the liberal media's feelings on it, and suggesting they are complicit in the enemy's attempts to make the war effort look inhumane. He writes that
if we did shoot a couple of them, they would be on their cell phones with the speed of 10,000 gigabytes, direct to the Arab television station Al Jazeera.
And that
the media in the States would crucify us. Was there ever a greater uproar than the one that broke out over Abu Ghraib?
And look, I can sympathize to some extent with the idea that in the fog of war, soldiers can at times be put in an ambiguous situation where they might need to make split-second decisions that could ultimately lead to good, innocent people being killed. That's war. But Luttrell gives the game away here by equating these split-second decisions with the state-sponsored abuse, torture, and humiliation of prisoners at Abu Ghraib that were so egregious the US couldn't even argue that these abuses did not violate the Geneva Convention, and instead tried to argue the Geneva Convention just didn't apply to them at all, which was wrong and stupid, and they lost in court because of it. Even when we reach the turning point of our story, when Marcus is faced with a choice to kill 3
You need to go back and watch my other video I did on him, Jamie, where the main SEAL guy breaks it all down from the drone footage. They got him on the drone, man. They seen it. They say he hightailed from the get-go. The only reason why he survived, because Axe badass survived and took the enemy this way, and Marcus was going this way. They were chasing Axe, would not quit or die. And that's why Marcus, I believe, lived, because they were chasing Axe, and Marcus was going the other way. So basically, Axe saved him. That's what I think. Yeah, it's a lot to it, man. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's all lies and saving face, because this was just a disaster for the Navy. You know, either way, it was bad. So, yeah, it all finally come out, though. But I knew when I seen his face, and he's in the man jammies and shit, and he said he bit his tongue in half. crushed his nose, all this shit, and he didn't even have a scratch on him. I mean, he looked fine, but
Be
yeah,
innocent civilians or to
shit.
let them go and risk the lives of his entire
And
team.
the
The
sad
author
part
spends less
is I love this man. It killed me to do that first video on him, to dog him out and call him out on his shit, because he could do no wrong in my eyes. I mean, I loved him, man. I mean, there is set in my calendar. I think it's June 28th. I remember it when it happened. I mean, it's June 28th, 05. But it's in my calendar. I celebrate it basically every year. That's how much this guy meant to me. And then everything just went to shit. I was like, damn.
time focusing on his Christian inclination towards mercy, and instead makes his decision because he's worried about what the libs will say about him if he kills this 14-year-old boy, writing,
Was I afraid of these guys? No. Was I afraid of the possible buddies in the Taliban? No. Was I afraid of the liberal media back in the USA? Yes.
After deciding to spare the farmers, he laments the decision and says,
It was the stupidest, most southern fried, lame brain decision I had ever made in my life. I turned into a fucking liberal. A half-assed, no logic nitwit. All heart, no brain, and the judgment of a jackrabbit.
I mean, I can keep going and tell you about all the times that Luttrell complains about liberals for being too hard on war crimes, but it happens so often that it's just a waste of time. He throws this in throughout the book, seemingly without thinking, and in doing so, he lays out a pretty alarming contradiction that he never attempts to grapple with. Early on in the book, Luttrell asserts that the libs should stay out of deciding who he should be allowed to kill because
we know about bad guys, what they do, and often who they are.
But he doesn't actually believe this, because he goes on to admit over 100 pages later that not only can he not discern good guys from bad, neither can anyone else.
In this kind of terrorist insurgent warfare, no one can tell who's a civilian and who's not. So what's the point of framing rules that cannot be comprehensively carried out by anyone? Rules that are unworkable because half the time no one knows who the goddamned enemy is.
This is a take that the average person would be repulsed by. That's why they needed to craft a story in which the only way to save our brave heroes would be to kill unarmed civilians. The reader is supposed to come away from this book thinking, wow, war is a lot more complicated than I thought. Maybe I should back off a little bit. But Luttrell doesn't just want you to choose to stay out of it. He thinks that these kinds of stories are not your business to begin with. He says so when he complains about liberals
blathering on about the public's right to know. Well, in the view of most Navy SEALs, the public does not have the right to know. Not if it means placing our lives in unnecessary peril because someone in Washington is driving himself mad worrying about the human rights of some cold-hearted terrorist fanatic who would kill us as soon as look at us.
And this is why this story was written. This is what they wanted the audience to think about war. That what happens overseas is none of your business because you couldn't possibly understand how hard it is for the soldiers, like Marcus. They don't have it quite as bad as Jews during the Holocaust, but it's close enough that the author thought to make the comparison. And Luttrell believes that this hate is completely unwarranted. He believes that US forces have been incredibly restrained in their treatment of the enemy. But Luttrell also believes very strongly that the way to ultimately defeat a ruthless enemy like the Taliban is to fight them on their own terms, whether you like it or not. And maybe on a battle level scale, this could be true. Like if you're fighting someone and they're willing to pull your hair and gouge your eyes, you might need to match that energy if you want to win. But that's not war. In the entirety of this book, the author never grapples with the fact that war is about people. So long as there are a significant number of people that want to keep fighting you, you cannot win a war. You can continue your occupation, and you can delay the inevitable, but you can't actually win. We need to understand why, in spite of the Taliban's brutal theocratic dictatorship, people continue to join their cause and lose faith in the Americans.
Did you look something up, Jamie? Did you find something else, or just listening to this?
It's because there was one thing that continued to drive people back to them. The Taliban resurged because the United States could not stop capturing and killing innocent civilians. The exact thing that this book wants to see more of. Now, this video is entirely too long for what it is, so I can't devote anywhere near as much time to this as it deserves, but trust me when I say that these stories of American excesses are not rare. There are a lot more examples that I'm able to share, but the absolute state of the US occupation can best be understood by reading Anand Gopal's book, No Good Men Among the Living. In it, he illustrates
There's one SEAL. He's out. He's an older man, and he's got deep ties to all of it. Knows all that stuff. So he's the one digging and bringing all of it to light. Who all I got in here now? Is this you Jamie, and Mom? I think Ack probably had to ride out. I know Jamie's here. Is it you, Mom, or is it Ack? Answer that question, baby dolls.
the point that US forces would often incarcerate Afghans indiscriminately, even if they were staunchly anti-Taliban and collaborated with the Americans. Gopal tells the story of Dr. Hasfullah, an anti-Taliban government official in Zermatt province who was sent to Guantanamo Bay after he was falsely accused of terrorism by the corrupt head of police, Chief Mujahid, who would also be sent to Guantanamo Bay soon after. The local security chief Naeem, who was also fiercely anti-Taliban, was also sent to Guantanamo after being falsely accused of terrorist sympathies by his rival, Mullah Qasim. Qasim, who actually had terrorist ties, was able to avoid being captured by the Americans as they instead grabbed another Afghan of the same name and shipped his ass to Guantanamo. And to top it all off, when the pro-American commander, Samud Khan, was found out to be a double agent, he was sent to Bagram prison, while one of the 12-year-old boys that he and his men would sexually abuse was sent to Guantanamo, where he would be the youngest detainee. I don't intend for this to be an exhaustive list of how the US fucked with local Afghan politics. This is literally just a handful of errors carried out in a short stretch of time in the Zermatt province alone. Further inspection of Guantanamo as a whole would tell you that one inmate was accused of being a supporter of Ahmad Shah Abdul Khan, CIA Mujahideen, no reason for keeping him. He stayed for 3 more years. And this says nothing about the indiscriminate killing carried out by US drones, which killed an obscene amount of civilians relative to enemy combatants. And beyond the death from above, US forces would kill you in your own home too. Journalist Lindsay Billing dug into a zero-unit squad who conducted night raids in Afghanistan on behalf of the CIA.
I gotta take the boy out. I'll be right back.
And found that across hundreds of night raids, she was able to identify at least 452 civilian deaths over a 4-year period. Now, 452 should be an alarming number of innocent people to kill, but I can't stress enough, this was attributable to just one of 4 zero-unit death squads over just a 4-year period of a 20-year occupation. All this to say that the US was hardly handcuffed by the rules of engagement, and this consistent humiliation wore on the Afghan people, and in many cases, it turned them against the Americans. And it didn't need to be this way. Some US forces did reach out to the Afghans and treat them as a people to be invested in rather than eliminated. I don't want to make it sound like the US occupation was all sunshine and rainbows. Believe me, I was not a fan, but it happened sometimes. This is the fundamental difference between counterterrorism and counterinsurgency, in theory at least. The former seeks to kill whoever needs to be killed, and the latter is supposed to win people over to your cause. To be effective, though, this requires a zero-tolerance policy towards civilian casualties, as just one can ruin weeks or months of humanitarian work. In one particularly relevant instance that I found, a local Marine lieutenant named Matt Bartels was introduced to a local Afghan who told him through a translator that although he was typically scared to approach Americans because of previous negative experiences, he had heard about the Marines' work with the local girls' school and wanted to be friends. It's possible that if that Afghan had not seen that humanitarian work and instead lost friends to American forces, that he would keep his distance or even provide aid to the Taliban instead. But he didn't do that. Instead, he put his life on the line to help American troops in spite of the threat to his life posed by the Taliban. That Afghan's name was Mohammed Gulab, and he saved Marcus Luttrell's life in this story. And that's the frustrating part about the narrative the author chose to tell here. If you want to tell an inspiring story that gasses up the US military and casts the occupation of Afghanistan in a positive light, you would tell the story of Mohammed Gulab, an Afghan who saw that the Americans maybe could make a positive difference in his community, so he put his own life and that of his family on the line to save a complete stranger to him. He stood up to the Taliban, and for years he was terrorized for it. His nephew was shot in the head and killed because of it. But the goal of this story was not to inspire or inform, it was to spin a very specific narrative. That's why, while all of this was happening to Mohammed Gulab, Marcus Luttrell was back in America peddling a book about how the United States needed to commit more war crimes. But why? Like, would he lie about all these details just to make himself feel better about how things shook out? Maybe, but Marcus didn't write this book at all. The Navy commissioned Patrick Robinson to write it, and they did so within weeks of Operation Red Wings coming to a close. He wrote the entirety of the book based on unrecorded interviews with Luttrell while he was away in Iraq. This is not something you do when you are concerned with the facts on the ground. It's something you do when you only need the gist of a story to craft your narrative. This is why the book has such glaring errors, like the name of the operation and Shah's kill count, because the guy who would have known that stuff was halfway across the world when the book was actually being written. Now, Robinson claims that he was chosen because the Navy felt he demonstrated a strong knowledge of the SEALs in his fiction writing. If this is true at all, it's just half the reason. He was brought on to tell a fictional version that would paint Luttrell as a hero. He was brought on to push a political message. He specifically crafted a story in which the deaths of some good old American boys could be laid at the feet of innocent Afghan civilians despite considerable evidence suggesting otherwise. This is why the novel positions Marcus as the man who casts the deciding vote against killing the goat herders, because the fact that he has now changed his mind and supports killing them makes the narrative all the more persuasive. This story tells the reader that rules of engagement be damned, sometimes war crimes are okay. And if it started and ended there, I wouldn't waste so much time talking about this. But this is not a fringe opinion held by a ghostwriter gone rogue. Some American soldiers in Iraq would tell you the same thing, with one telling Seymour Hersh,
We're going to have to play their game. Guerrilla versus guerrilla. Terrorism versus terrorism. We've got to scare the Iraqis into submission.
this is an opinion held all the way up to the highest reaches of American power. Jimmy Carter, the guy that's always trotted out as the most moral post-World War II president, suggested that William Calley, who was convicted of killing 22 civilians in the My Lai massacre, was a scapegoat whose conviction was a blow to troop morale. And it goes without saying that conservatives are the worst offenders of all, with Ben Shapiro writing stuff about how Democrats critical of George Bush's war in Iraq should be charged with sedition. And I cannot stress enough that this is not just a case of Robinson agreeing with those guys out of happenstance. He was handpicked by the Navy for a reason. They reviewed this book for accuracy, of which there was none, and gave it a green light for publishing. And that is why this is the wrongest book of all time. Not because it leaves out important context or lies about the significance of the mission or how it happened, but because this is a book that comes straight from the military-industrial complex to convince you that the reason the US is not winning wars is because they need to kill more innocent people. All right, I've spent at least 2 years thinking about all the ways I wanted to shit on this movie and the book that spawned it from hell, but I had no idea it would get this long and I'd have to leave so much out. I didn't get to talk about the fact that when the village elder sauntered over to the nearest US military base to tell them about finding Marcus, the Marines sat with him and drank tea before planning to have him walk them to the location, only for the Navy SEALs to black bag him and drag his ass to another location for interrogation, despite being fully cooperative. I didn't get a chance to talk about the way that Luttrell continues to talk about Gulab as though they have a brotherly relationship to this day, despite Gulab publicly calling him out for lying and abandoning him all the way back in 2016. I didn't get to talk about the fact that Joe Rogan had Luttrell on his podcast in March of 2021, despite all these lies being readily accessible for years. And I decided not to delve into this stuff because, well, number one, I'm not H-bomber guy. I don't have the clout for that. But also because these more minor personal grievances I have with everyone involved here is nothing compared to the American exceptionalism that this book represents and how many innocent people these ideas have killed across the globe. And make no mistake, I'll keep watching this garbage. And you can too. But for the love of God, don't ever let the people that direct movies like Hancock and Battleship inform your politics.
Well, hell, what y'all think of that?
Oh no,
we
we're
got
embarrassed.
that
We
down
screwed up.
again. Well,
Our
I hope
warehouse is overloaded with survival food kits, but our mess.
And that's what he did. And apparently,
we can end it on this. It'll be funny. What y'all think of that? Did it make any sense or no? Some do, some don't. Well, bad deal. Don't like it. I see Don snag one. That was funny. He's setting bear traps. Get him.
he wasn't very proud of that. Now I'm pulling your military records. That request was submitted a week ago. They'll come in. I'll be happy to share them. But I believe your story about being an OS. I believe you did the 6 and that you snapped. Are you transgender?
I am, sir.
Oh.
And your name used to be Sophia? Sophia?
No, sir. Sabrina.
Sabrina. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
I'm just old.
So we got us a transgender wannabe seal here. Faking with a big old trident right there. Beautiful, ain't it? Check it out. Sorry, I tipped it on you. Big old trident right there. This son of a bitch got jump wing. Jesus Christ. He real deal. What you say, sad mama on Marcus? Are you wowing Jamie about the last thing we was watching or this deal here?
The school Navy, and nothing surprises me anymore.
I understand, sir.
Okay, are you out of that phase now, or are you transitioning, or what? You're back to being a dude?
I am still trans. However, I am back to being a male.
I done lost everybody. When I start talking about
James. Yes.
the
Admiral. How are you, buddy? I'm doing well. Who am I talking to? Admiral Suazo. Admiral Suazo. I heard you had some shitty dealings with Shipley. I've got stories about that guy. Thank you. You know what? I appreciate this call so much. You know, I've had some deals with that guy for years. Talk to me like.
Who we got in here? Just you, Mo? It's like everybody gone. I wish they'd tell me when they leave. Just you and them, Mo? Oh, dang. Wow, my boy rocking out with me. You want to watch it with me, man? Watch this seal get punished. What was you wowing about this seal dude or about the last deal with Marcus? You saying wow about that? Or about this transgender wannabe seal? I was just curious. I know I switched it up on y'all. Where'd my mom go? It's been dipped out on me. Yeah, let's clear
You
this.
cussed me in front of my daughter?
No.
Drunk and a drug addict?
No, he did not.
Yes, sir, he did.
No.
Yes, sir, he did.
No.
When I did that phony down at the SEAL Museum a few weeks ago, that long 4-part drown, it really did a number on me. It's not him.
I mean, how can you do all that shit and fake being a damn spec operator? Oh, wow, on the Marcus, yeah. You watch my other video, it got a lot of hits, man. People liked it. Yeah, you sure are. And how Don gonna dog you. But you see that one video, it's in the stream. And I got it marked with yes it is, buddy. That Israel stuff, boy, nasty, nasty. All right, Mom. I appreciate you hanging with me. Get your butt clean. But what did I say, man? I mean, shit. Oh yeah, it's I got Marcus's no, I don't either, man. It's like everybody just brains are melted out of their ears. But yeah, that I got the thumbnail is Marcus's picture. You'll see you got a scratch on. And you got one of them turban things on his head like they dressed him up.
That did it. It's not the people that were defending him that did it. It wasn't anything like that down there. It was just a rough ride of trying to prove and disprove every lie a liar tells. I've been doing it for many years. You would not think at this point of dealing with these guys that would. But these people were so convinced of this guy's bullshit. Anyhow, I get an email from a gal who wants me to verify her estranged father who is reconnected. Apparently, the mother kicked him out many years ago for being an abusive father, husband. And he has recently reconnected with the daughter. And the daughter simply asked me to verify him, but she puts in a couple of little lines in there that is claiming he was on the Nimitz, that he's claiming he was part of 295, that he was a Vietnam vet, cold water, part of the killing fields, and strange things like this. He's saying he was a SEAL without really coming out and saying he was a SEAL. What he does in his maniacal, she tells it this guy is a staggering drunk. He is passed out all the time. He's a drug addict. He's got a long criminal record. And he would tell her these things. He wants money is what he does. He wants money after all this. And, just being the daughter, she would like to probably reconnect with this guy, but she's trying to figure out who he is after all these years. She doesn't know him. And he just gets off running her in circles. Now, this is a woman who has better shit to do than start searching Part 295, Part 295 Navy, Part 295 Vietnam, Part 295 Nimitz, Part 295 SEAL. And just run. And then he would do it again. And he would never tell her what that was. He would just drop another something in the water, a name, a hotel, just something, and just spin that poor girl up into a...
If you have neuropathy, pay close attention. These are 3 symptoms that are signaling you could be very close to losing your foot.
A noodle. It really got to her. And so now you're trying to undo all the lies he's telling. And it's easy. I know it's all bullshit, but you're trying to tell her, and people don't want to make a mistake. So she just kept at me about different things he was saying. And I'd shoot it down. It was like, no, we already covered this ground. He's not a SEAL. He didn't do that. So don't go back at it and do that again. We're looking in the rearview mirror. We're past that point. And one of the last conversations, it was basically the last conversation she had with me, is she brought up, well, he's got a book signed by Marcus Luttrell.
Man, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm fixing to be doing my granddaddy. Man, Slinger Bell Restoration Reports. We have a lot of things to brag about, but you never said a thing I guess like the boomer generation and the millennials. Yeah, that's a real soldier. That means he really did that shit. They don't talk about it, they don't have to. They were there and did it. Damn, that's crazy, bro. You get any awards or anything? The medals and all? My granddad's highly decorated. He got a Silver Star, a Presidential Unit Citation with a Bronze Star, Pacific Asiatic Ribbon with a Bronze Star. I'd have to bring his whole list out to do it, but he started in Pearl Harbor in Schofield Barracks, out butt naked with a 45 shooting up in the air, and went all the way through Korea. He was badass. Oh, bronze, silver, air medal with valor ×2. Shit. Now, Daddy was a headhunter, huh? He must have been with the ground soldier. What was he, Marine or Army? The 0311? One of them ground pounder? Old knuckle dragger? I bet he was hell. Oh, Army, okay. Yeah. Well, he was foot soldier, huh? Duking it out with him. Yeah, my granddad was too. Lieutenant Colonel, damn, man. Crazy. Yeah, that's big time there. My granddad was retired first sergeant. He didn't go to Vietnam. He knew he wouldn't make it back. He had enough war. That Korea burned him out after that. Yeah, I got to get his. I'm looking for his DD 214 and all his write ups. I'm assuming that's what you got, ain't it? Well, an actual report is actually different. That should be a report of an actual mission or op. Sounds like. I'm trying to get my granddad's whole write ups and everything, all his awards and all. Volunteers, huh? I mean, yeah. You gotta respect them guys. He's still around.
Dad.
Yeah.
You still
Are you
got
there?
him? Yep. Oh,
So
man.
what's going on?
I'd talk to him about it, man.
I'm
Don't
done.
let him sit there with that on his chest and let him go.
I
I'd
can't.
give
You
it
wrote a whole
out, man. That's
novel.
content.
Seriously.
I'd
So,
interview my dad
okay? I
about
didn't
it.
talk to the motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
on.
But yeah, man, I'd interview him, man. That's some serious content. I'm finna be going to the VFW and interviewing some guys. I'm trying to get it set up now. I'm gonna try to get them to come out here. But yeah, I want to start interviewing the vets we got. Oh, you said he's gone. I thought you said yup, like he's here. Oh, yeah, sorry about that, man. Damn, that wasn't long ago. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got some something you can hold on to there, man. That's cool shit. I'd make him like a shadow box or something. Put his medals and all in there. And that's what I'm doing with my granddad's. Is put them all in there with a flag and then a nice shadow box.
I'm done.
I've been wanting to do that for a long time.
Texas. I'm done.
No, I can't. You
I
wrote a whole
gotta get out to
novel.
Fort Benning.
Seriously. So,
Well, I didn't read it, okay? I didn't talk to the motherfucker,
yeah.
okay?
Oh,
Then
yeah.
you did get a hold of
They're
it.
my hero, too. Shit.
No, Malia, I'm
They
fucking
all
lying
are.
again.
Them guys
Why
there,
don't you
man.
goddamn
The special operators, they're the true rock stars. Rock stars and movie stars, they ain't shit. We can do what they can do. Them soldiers can do things that you can't do. That's why they're called special. Special operator. And yeah, they're the true rock stars to me. Not the fugazi son of bitches.
call him?
No, I'm not going to call him. I'm
I
asking.
am your goddamn father. I'm tired of this
Yeah.
shit. I contacted him. I talked to the wife. I talked to him. He's full of shit.
Oh my gosh. Dad, you talked to his wife?
Why don't you read my text and call me back later on?
Oh, yeah,
Because
my
if
father
this
is different.
Go
Different.
ahead. Dad, how about
Like
this?
mean as hell.
I'm not going to call him back. I'm not going to blow up his phone
Smart.
and do that.
you already have. Okay? You know, the point, read my text. I'm your father. You call me a goddamn liar. I don't fucking bullshit. He's full of bullshit. He couldn't tell me things about his past. He wouldn't know everything about me. He knew you called, and he told me that you blew his phone up. And you know what he had the audacity to say? You're nothing but a goddamn drug addict and an alcoholic. Now, where the hell did he get that from? It came from you. Okay, Malia? It came from fucking you.
Dad, listen.
Boy, he is something else, ain't he? He is turned up, boy. Old drunk son of a bitch.
Listen. Did you answer his questions? I mean,
Malia, I answered. And you know what? You're not listening. I gave him every answer to my questions, but the only thing that little cocksucker could say is your daughter blew my phone and said, you're a drug addict,
Oh, man.
you're on Nimitz,
You were on a flight deck and everything else. So he wanted to know shit.
I don't think I told him that you were a drug addict and an alcoholic.
Malia, the maid, read my text. I'm done.
I can't, Dad. Listen.
I am done. I am done with all this shit.
All right. All right. James. Listen.
Yeah.
Give me the SEAL training class, bro, right now. Because if you don't, then your daughter's going to know you're a phony too. So go ahead. Spit it out there, Airman.
Tell me about yourself.
You're not turning the tables on me anymore. This was about you. This was never about me.
Okay. You've never been through it.
Part 295, you lied to me. There is no such thing. You were not in Vietnam.
Malia, I love you, my daughter. Now you got me a conference call. This guy is a scam artist.
Okay, let's unscam the artist here. What was your
never served? No, he's never served.
What was your SEAL training class number?
No one seems to know this, but Amazon actually has a $50 million fund that they have to pay out.
On the phone with him.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't realize he's a goddamn senior chief, retired Navy SEAL. What, like 28 damn year, 27 damn year? I mean, his son DJ's a SEAL, SEAL Team 6 and all that shit. I mean, it's all the man knows and does. Any serviceman would work this. Oh, no, they would not. And these some basket cases. I mean, even the old men, boy, they some grimy old son bitches, boy. Get out there to get that free shit. Make that oldness on them, make them think you're old and sweet, and nice, you know. They be some rotten son bitches, boy. I ain't served a day in the military and tell you some bitch did 15 years on SEAL Team 10, 7. 4, 3. They call them all out. You bait the shit out of life. I'm telling you, Don, he has his hands full. He is good at it, boy, setting them traps. I love it. I love it.
He did serve, Dad.
He was never in active duty.
Hey, your father has researched me. So, young lady, please let me and your father do this, and you just stop and listen.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Let my daughter listen to you.
Go ahead. What SEAL team? What SEAL? I was on active duty for 24 flipping years.
24.
Were you ever in a war?
Yes.
No. You never served.
Where are you getting this from? Dan Bernath's YouTube videos?
He was, Malia, I'm done with you.
Malia, stop talking.
Maybe he was a SEAL Team 1, SEAL Team 2. Now, by the way, SEAL Team 1 and 2, we're talking Vietnam.
Well, how do you, we don't take reservists in the SEAL team. And Malia, listen, honey.
The man cannot answer one fucking
Malia,
question.
please stop interrupting me and him. Don't interrupt again or I'm getting off this phone. James, you listen to me, you decade son of a bitch off the Nimitz. You give me
Here we go. Here we go. Ding, 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 ding.
a SEAL training class or a team that you served at.
You know what?
I'm looking at your picture up here, and you told me that was you with your SEAL team, but you're with a bunch of these other guys in an aviation bosun mate handler Tackett. Those aren't SEALs next to you. There's all that. So what was your SEAL training class number?
Hey,
SEAL training class number.
What are you saying, Jamie? You saying that your dad would have done it? My pop did this type of stuff to some. Or did he call out some phony somewhere and get into a damn fight? Or are you saying he would have done this, but it wouldn't end well? It'd take all those getting back off, I bet. My granddad.
And you can I'll tell you what, I'll go mi casa, su casa. You want to know what my training class number was?
131.
And I was assigned to SEAL Team 1. So what was yours, James?
Explain something to you, my friend.
Nope. You either answer that or you're just I know you're a phony already. But come on, you don't want to dig yourself in. What was your SEAL training class?
Why?
What is your... See, you don't know because you never did. And you don't want it in front of your daughter. You were never a SEAL. You never went through SEAL training. You were assigned to the USS Nimitz.
He would not let me ask him a question. He would not let me question him. He would not let me and verify.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. And I don't want your daughter to step in and say not another word. Go ahead. What do you want to know?
You never saw active duty.
I was on active duty for 24 years and 30 days.
You were never in war. You were never, maybe.
What's that got to do with active duty, you dumb shit? That's how much you know. Active duty in war doesn't have anything to do with anything. I joined the Navy in 1978 and retired in 2003. So when did you go in?
He would not let me talk. All right. Were you in Bosnia?
Yes.
Okay. Was Bosnia a conflict or war?
Well, I don't know what you want to call it.
One.
Now, I've answered your questions. You can do whatever it wants.
The goddamn conflict, and we had SEALs all. Okay, another question.
No, you're going to answer one. What was your SEAL training class number? I answered your question.
That's none of your fucking business.
Because I'm looking at the SEAL database. Any name you give me, I can pull up right now. I'll tell you when Marcus Luttrell went through training. Did you know Marcus's brother?
Listen to me. Marcus Luttrell was in goddamn Afghanistan. Okay?
He was also in Iraq. He was at my son's wedding.
He was both them.
He was at my son's wedding. Do you know Danny Dietz from his operation that was killed? Have you heard that name, sir? Or you just regurgitating stuff from the Lone Survivor? No, my son is married to Danny Dietz's widow. That's how small this community is. Marcus Luttrell, Axelson, Murphy, all of them there. Danny Dietz was killed. My son married his widow, Patricia Dietz.
My friend, have you ever heard of a SAT?
I really didn't like that, man, but they got to keep it in the community like that, though. It became very personal, man. He served, he lost a lot of them. He was very personal, he thought he could be called blood to get. Yeah. Once you go through some shit like that, a lot of people. Oh, you can tell Don, man, he just gets bent. He wants to explode sometimes. You have to be composed to do this shit.
No, because it never happened, sir. It never happened. Okay. You weren't part of any of that. You were on the Nimitz. So, what SEAL team? What SEAL team were you at?
I mean, I'd feel like the biggest dickhead on the planet. Me walking around knowing that I'm posing all this shit. That's scary as shit to me. I mean, once you get called out, incredibly disappointed when they're a criminal. Yeah, I mean, what if somebody hems you up and start asking you questions? What unit? What this? When you're fucked. You don't know what to say. And hell, you go to SEAL shit or try to be Delta guy or something like that, man, they got their own fucking language. So they gonna know right off rip you full of shit. By saying one word, they'll know.
6-month training, Coronado.
Okay, good. That's great. What was your bud's training class, sir?
Damn.
We ain't going there, bro. It's all
might
SEAL.
go out again.
We don't do that.
What was your training class, sir? I went through 131. My son went through 247. I can tell you what Luttrell's class was. I can tell you what his brother's class was. So what, sir, was your training class?
Now you're talking to me. The lady still on the phone? Yes. Okay.
Okay.
That's what makes me mad, Jamie, about Marcus. he was great at training, very good at it. But come down to the real deal, it seemed like he wasn't built for it and didn't like it. But he still got all that free ass training. That pisses me off that he got that training for nothing. But he still got it and he'll always have it. I never told where I came out there and the baby language got to get low. Body language I get after. Sorry. Well, I make it point and say oh, I'm the same way. People think I'm a soldier off rip when my head ain't cut right now. I'm skin headed. The tattoos and how I carry myself as well. We probably look about alike. Man, I've been sick. I done lost a lot of weight, but normally I'm kind of, not a stocky guy, but I'm not no shriveled up shrimp type guy. And people ask me all the time, they think I'm retired military. I go, nope, just the whole family is. I'm the only dickhead that didn't. I regret it now. But yeah, that's what kills me. I just remember about the Marcus deals. He got all that damn good ass training, man. All that shooting that he got to do. All the, he trained 2, 3. I mean, they got to train damn near 3 years before they're able to go out on a live op. You know what I mean? They don't even get to go out on a live operation until about 3 years into it. They just got to be around it and go for this and clean their shit and be around it and see it. It ain't like the Marines, 6 months, But yeah, they ton of training. I mean, it's constant. Every day they doing something. And it ain't like the Marines, they'll be over there in combat, and 6 months ago, hell, that young man was a damn civilian. And now he's over there gunslinging. But them SEALs and all them Delta guys and all, they go through so much training. Like Delta, they don't want nothing but grown ass men. Grown men. Oh yeah, you learn. Shit, I don't think they's a better soldier than an 0311 Marine. Some of the most stomped down son of bitches you can get. Straight up gunfighters, boy. And good at it. I mean, actually good at gunfighting. That's when it's hell. Yeah, let me take this dog out real quick. You ain't gonna shut up.
Okay, what was the training class number?
I'm gonna tell you something.
No.
You listen to this shit.
See, this is where your dad won't answer the question. He wants me to do it because he's a manipulator. He's a diabolical, despicable, disgusting degenerate. He's a drug addict and a drunk. And he won't answer a simple question, but he says he served in SEAL team in Vietnam.
How dare you?
Oh, fuck you. Like you drunk.
You asked him, Dad. He answered the question.
Okay, Malaya, look, your dad is lying. You just tell me that you know that, okay?
I do know that.
Okay, 100%. Everything he's told you is just a big bullshit story.
Is there anything else, Dad, that you feel like you need to say?
And listen, all this research that he has you doing of naming these names and you look it up and search, he is exhausting you. Just like he did me, he spins you in circles, and you come at me wanting help, and I help you. There is no SEAL that won't talk to another SEAL, and I deal with so many imposters. James, would you believe it if I told you I've verified over 40,000 fake Navy SEAL claims, and you're just rated up. You're a needle in a haystack, bro. But I burnt your ass. I'm going to YouTube your ass. I'm going to put you all over the fucking internet as the Nimitz guy. And aviation. And what happened to you, man? You got kicked out.
I asked you, Dad, did you get discharged? You wouldn't
Malia, I want you to listen. Malia, I want you to listen to this gentleman.
You got your ass kicked out, and you come up with this because that's what it is. It's called the hero syndrome. And you are so ashamed of your time in the Navy and what happened to you that you compensate for it and it's a medical term. You can search it, hero syndrome. It's loosely associated with firefighters who start fires themselves, to be first on the scene, to be a hero. You are so ashamed of what happened to you that you compensate by turning yourself into a SEAL and a Vietnam vet to gain respect, and try to get it from your daughter because you're a broke dick and you need a couple of bucks in your pocket. Give me your address and I'll send you $20, sir, just to get rid of you. How about that? Okay, do that so I can plaster it up on the internet. If you have any other pictures of him, please send it. I know James is familiar with who I am. I know he knows that series, Phony Navy SEAL of the Week, and that's right where the fuck you're going. For wrecking my evening here with all my friends going duck hunting tomorrow, dealing with your phony ass, and you know you can't answer any of those questions.
You never saw.
What was your SEAL training class? What was your SEAL team? Give me your commanding officer's name.
That is between me and my daughter.
Give me your commanding officer. Well, you fucking contacted me, you decade, you fucking aviation handler. And free at that. And you're talking to me. I was a fucking senior chief with 24 years in the Navy. And you're talking to me like that.
I am not going to listen to.
I don't talk to people unless they can relate to them. You know them very well.
Well, you should be answering something. We should have something in common.
Do the research. Do the research.
See, that's where you go, Malia. He's trying to get you to do more research and burn yourself out on the computer.
I'm not going to do any more research.
That's right. Good for you, girl.
You do the research on him. Malia, do the research on him.
You told me to involve my brother, and I did. And my brother gave me the right information of who I needed to contact. And that's who I'm talking to right now. Good night, Ethel. She burned your ass, James, and that's what you need, a good swift kick in the ass so you'll stop panhandling. Why don't you go back to washing windshields on a downtown street corner and leave that girl alone? You've done enough shit to her. You got to turn her into a basket case. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, but I know you're not because you're a degenerate. You disgusting clown. I would never talk to another SEAL like that. I'll talk to you like that because you never were. But I'll talk to a fucking jerk-off decade that was on the USS Nick.
I talked to him about that Fallujah boy. That was a motherfucker. Was he a Marine? He's the first one to storm into that shit. That mentality, universal, real soldier. Who was your brother-in-law? He in the Army too? Yeah, they all was in Fallujah, but I know the Marines had to hit it hard, boy. When they first went in there, boy, that was a hell of a fight. What, Fallujah and Ramadi was. Hell, what about the same, wasn't it? Or badness.
Nimitz, and turned himself into a SEAL Vietnam vet. Fuck you.
I would have never cared what you did. I loved you no matter what. You just didn't have to lie to me. You didn't have to put me through that. And I shouldn't have involved my brother.
Okay, I am done with James. I have guests down here, so you can contact me later. I'll do whatever. I don't know if you sent him that verification letter of how ironclad that was, but next thing, we just got to get his shitty records.
You have to block him from not contacting you or your wife again.
No, I don't care what he does. He can do that. I don't answer my phone. She just mistakenly answered it. So I'll talk to you. Good night and good luck with that guy. He's a handful. See you.
Let me ask you a question. If you want to PayPal or what? How much you ask for money?
Well, how much you need?
No.
Do you need a few bucks?
You charge people for bullshit.
See, you lurk, man. You know all about me. You lurk.
And
you don't even know the difference between active duty, a guy like me. You scan, but you're a drunk, sir. It's done a number on you.
I have researched you.
Good. Well, there you go. Then why are you asking me questions?
Whether or not my daughter wants to believe you or me.
Why would you ask me questions if you already know the answers to them?
You will not.
Dad, what year did you serve in Vietnam?
You already know that.
Yeah.
What year did you serve in Vietnam?
Well, the Vietnam War ended in 75. I was there in 68.
Sure.
Oh my God.
That's what everybody says.
Do the math, Malaya. 68, 74.
Yeah.
All right. I was in the tail end of Vietnam. I'm not going to.
Well, how old is that now? How do we know his age? What was he, like 11 years old then? Exactly. Okay. Yeah. And the Vietnam War did not end in 75, sir. Hostility.
I get secondhand embarrassment from it. I mean, I really start feeling like shit.
Hostilities ended in March of 1973. The last SEALs left Vietnam in November 1972. I am a walking naval special warfare historian. Nobody has ever, in all those phony SEAL videos, gotten over on me even a single time for anything. And you've seen them because you won't answer that class number, because you know I'll pull it up right here with everybody that graduated that class, the date they graduated, and any of your commanding officers, anybody, anything is right in front of me at the couple of keystrokes. So you go ahead and try it again there, 11-year-old Vietnam vet clown.
11-year-old.
Yeah, it's 1975. You don't need no shit.
Embarrassment is the term. That ain't real, man.
I really do have some close friends down here going hunting tomorrow.
Thank you, and I'll be in touch.
I'm proud of you for doing that. I thought you and I were going to chase each other's tails with me telling you and then you coming back and saying, well, he said this. I call it the game of ping pong. And good for you. Yeah.
You gave me your information, and I got a lot of what I needed to know. And it really stuck.
You pass along a nice hand salute to that shipmate brother of yours, and your father don't get one. Dishonorably discharged phonies don't get one from me.
Oh,
good night. Thank you.
Discharged you.
Yeah. Just stir the pot a little.
He was dishonorable discharge too, Johnny.
A little bit more there, so okay. I'm glad that that probably would not have happened, the earlier incident, if she'd have been on the phone, but he's so repulsive.
Oh, yeah.
He has really done a number on her. He has really, really done a number on her. She could clearly see that tonight, but me and her have gone through some very frustrating conversations. And her brother was in the Navy, and the brother was the one that told her to contact me. And there's his idiot picture, but she reached out to me on the 8th. This is the 12th. And me and her have gone back and forth about him. And she tried to get him on the phone. She wanted to get him on the phone with me, but he's a drunk. He's passed out all the time. He's just completely hit and miss. He's drunk right now. So, yeah, kicked out, whatever the hell he did. He was not.
He had done no shit face. He shit face, cussing everybody out, running everything.
Vietnam. He was never a SEAL. He was on the USS Nimitz in the aviation department. He's a clown, total clown. I can't do shit like that much. You can see where this is starting to take a real toll on me. And the biggest part of this toll came from that fucking UDT SEAL Museum down there. And those guys defended that fucking phony down there. My chest is tight. My head hurts. I've got to get up early in the morning to go duck hunting. I'm already exhausted from all this bullshit. And I apologize to you guys. I've been flattered endlessly from people saying, I don't know how you keep your cool with those guys. Well, tonight, I lost it.
Listen, I got your number. I'm going to program you in, my friend.
Just call me anytime. You want anybody gives you shit.
What you got, Jamie? I got to hop off and get ready for tomorrow, but it's good catching up with you, bro. Same to you, man. Yeah, I'm going to be jumping off here too, man. Shit, I've been on here now 34 minutes. I was going to do the one thing, and then this come up, and we did this. But, yeah, salute you too, bro. It's good seeing you, man. Take care. Have a good day tomorrow. Holler at me sometime. You still got my number, right? I think Act got a new one, a new number. He shot to me. What happened there? It shows somebody else is in here. Y'all, somebody want to say something? Go ahead. Who are you? I'd like to know. You got mine. All right, bro. Good hollering at you. Whoever else is on here, why don't you say something to me? Tell me what state you're from. If it's a young kid, let me know. I want to talk to some of my kids on here. I got some youngins. Good night, bro. Same to you, man. Sleep tight. Try to get some good sleep. Shit, I ain't been sleeping off of crap lately. Need it. Yeah, thanks for being here, bro. I'll check you on the next time. Oh, they all fell off. Nobody wants to say nothing. How it goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that's it. We did one little Marcus deal. And then we done a little done there. So I guess I will see y'all. Bye.